Call the meeting to order of the City Council meeting. Clerk, please do a roll call.
Councilmember Walsh.
Here.
Councilmember Garola.
Here.
Councilmember West.
Here.
Councilmember Edberg. Here. Councilmember Engstrand.
Here.
And Mayor Nikolowski.
All right, will the honor guard please present the colors?
City of White Bear Lake, the flag of your nation, and a pledge to follow.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, color guard. Welcome to everybody here and online. It's an exciting night tonight where we welcome our new police chief. So welcome to everybody, all our visitors and people who came just for the regular city council meeting. Welcome. We're going to start right away with item 2A, approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting on May 12th, 2026. I'd accept a motion to approve the minutes. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Item 2B, approval of the minutes of the City Council work session on May 19th, 2026. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And those are passed. Item 3, the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Item 4, the consent agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the consent agenda? Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The consent agenda is adopted. Okay, visitors and presentation. Ms. Crawford.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight we are going to swear in our new chief of police. So I'm going to do an introduction here of Chief Eric Johnston before he comes up and does his oath of office, and then his wife Stephanie pins his badge. So Eric Johnston started as the White Bear Lake Chief of Police on May 9th. Following a career change as a computer repair technician for IBM, he started his career in Columbia Heights in 2002. During his time there at Columbia Heights Police Department, which some are here tonight, thanks for coming, he served as a school resource officer in the street crimes unit, as an investigator, sergeant, captain, and most recently as deputy chief. Along the way, he earned a bachelor's degree in business administration, a master's in police leadership, and completed the Northwestern University's School of Police Staff and Command. He also serves on a newly formed statewide peer support group for command staff, which is a unique and necessary group for the law enforcement industry. His personal career highlights include helping create youth and community engagement programs that brought Columbia Heights Police and the community together, which helped build and maintain positive relationships that withstood challenging times, especially earlier this year. Eric and his wife Stephanie have a blended family of 5 kids, ranging in age from high school to college. They have 2 golden doodles, which he enjoys spending time with, in addition to being outdoors, deer hunting, learning golf, reading, and playing video games when he can find the time. Last summer, I hear he picked up a new barbecue smoker, so he's also been enjoying experimenting with some recipes. When it comes to law enforcement, he most enjoys the opportunity to actively partner with the community to not only increase their safety, but to improve the community's sense of well-being where they live, work, and play. Being able to respond and help others during a time of need is deeply important to him. So when asked what his values and priorities were for his new role in White Bear Lake, he told me they were simple. Treat people right, be professional, keep learning, work hard and have fun, and take care of oneself and each other. As he gets settled into his new role, he looks forward to continuing the strong tradition of community engagement and getting to know members of the police department, city, and community. He shared that he's excited to work with, and I quote, "these amazing people and great group of professional law enforcement officers." So with that, the city clerk is going to now issue Chief Johnston the oath of office, and then following that, as I said, his wife Stephanie will pin his badge before he shares a few words with the group. So, City Clerk.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I
I,
state your name,
Eric Johnston,
do solemnly swear
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
and will discharge
and faithfully execute
the duties
devolving upon me
as
as Chief of Police
for the city of White Bear Lake
for the city of White Bear Lake
without fear or favor,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Congratulations, you're welcome.
I told my wife Stephanie as I was sitting there, and now I just need to figure out what to say when I got up here. And I would just like to, really thank everybody for the trust and the honor to lead this department. It has been amazing since the day I got here, and even before I got here. Everybody has spoke very highly of White Bear Lake and of the police department, of the professionalism, and I'm honored to have the privilege and the trust to continue that tradition. I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be active. You're going to be seeing me at community events. I'm just a phone call or a visit away, and I just want to be connected with the community and be here to serve, and that's what this police department is going to do. So thank you again for the opportunity and the trust, and look forward to working with everybody.
Chief, and welcome to White Bear Lake. We're very excited to have you here, and I know that you'll do a great job in leading our fabulous police department, and thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Now, unlike the rest of us, they all get to go celebrate and have cake while we work a little bit longer. But
And thanks, police, for all coming. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
all right, thanks.
Oh, they're nice and quiet as they leave. All right, moving on. Item 6, public hearings. We have nothing scheduled. Item 7, unfinished business. We have nothing scheduled. Item 8, new business, residential refuse and recycling collection contract. Mr. Kauppi. Mr. Juba.
Councilmembers, I will say that was one of the quietest exits I've ever experienced in one of these situations. Wow, that was special. All right, thank you very much. The city's contract for Republic Services for refuse and recycling collection is expiring at the end of August. Republic has been our hauler for residential recycling and refuse collection since 2017, when the former hauler, Troji's Trash, filed for bankruptcy. As the city's hauler, Republic collects trash and recycling 5 days a week from over 7,500 residences. It's a very busy task if you think about it that way. They also offer yard waste and bulky item pickup. All the refuse they collect is delivered to Ramsey Washington Recycling and Energy in Newport, and all the recycling is delivered to Eureka Recycling in Minneapolis. We'll talk about that here in a little bit also. After review of the service and rates, city staff and Republic have negotiated a 5-year extension with a rate increase of 3% per year on collection, bulky item pickup, and yard waste. So per staff's review of similar contracts in the area, even with those increases, we will remain below market for what we compare to in our area. So we're excited about that, and that's, again, why we talked with council earlier in the year about opting for extension versus going out for a full RFP. So we are recommending approval of that contract tonight, and there's a resolution for execution of that. But before we do that, I've invited Beverly Mathieson here from Republic to give a quick update and then answer any questions that Mayor or Council might have.
Thanks, Rick. I'm Bev Mathieson. I'm the Municipal Sales Manager for Republic Services. And it has been a pleasure serving this city for, what did you say, since 2017? I can't believe how quickly this has gone by. This evening, I just wanted to share some highlights about our industry, what's going on with Republic Services, and we'll get to it. I think.
Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going? Okay. There we go. Okay. When we started this contract, largely we were a hauler. We would come collect, transport the material for processing. And over the years, what we've done is we've really evolved into a sustainability company. And I'm going to walk you through that in just a moment. At Republic, we have a number of different city contracts that we manage. I manage 25. The majority of them, we collect the material and we process the material. For White Bear Lake, Eureka does process your recycling. So some of this will be a little bit different, but we're all making big advances in the industry here in the Twin Cities. So the first thing that I wanted to point out is our Midwest Polymer Center. What this is we're now transporting 100% of our plastics to our polymer center in Indianapolis. What's really neat about this is for so long, a lot of plastics were downcycled into textiles, lawn furniture, carpets, and now with the polymer center, we're able to recycle those bottles and jugs 6 to 7 times with a turnaround of about 120 days from the time the material gets to our center to the time it's back on the retailer's shelf. So that's a really big advancement and something that we're really excited about at Republic. Another piece is we're leading the charge when it comes to electric vehicles. I think we've all seen a lot of news lately about, and probably even with some of the city vehicles, going to EV. By 2028, half of our new truck purchases will be EV, and I'm happy to announce that even today, we are installing EV charging stations at our Eden Prairie division, and where we're able to pilot our EV fleet sometime in 2027 to that area south of here. So there will be some updates coming your way on how we progress through that. Minnesota winters can be challenging. Another area where we've really evolved is in emergency response services. I think we've all seen headlines in the news about a derailment, a tornado strike, hurricanes, all of those sorts of things. We have acquired companies where now Republic Services within 2 hours can come and help a city in time of need. I'm sure most of you have heard about EPR. This has made a lot of local headlines here in Minnesota. The extended producer responsibility. This started in early 2024, and the goal with EPR is by January 1st, 2032, all packaging sold in Minnesota must be refillable, reusable, recyclable, or compostable. And this is a big commitment for our state, and we're really excited about this. I did list a couple of websites where you can get more information on this. This is a big topic in itself when we could probably talk hours about it, but it is coming, and there is a timeline posted on the state site if you'd like to take a look at that. And what's even more exciting, I think, right now is for the city of White Bear Lake, you and a number of other cities will be able to participate in Ramsey, Washington County's food scrap program beginning July 6th. So we're excited to be part of that, and I hope you're excited as well. It's been very successful in other cities. Lastly, I wanted to touch on some of the technology enhancements we've made. We've made these investments and enhancements to make it easier for your residents to reach us when it's convenient for them. Online and with our app, residents can reach out. They can set up alerts, notifications. They can schedule a special pickup. If you have a big DIY project going on at home, you can order a roll-off with a couple of taps of the finger. Very easy. And then also you can get real live updates, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. And you can report a service concern. Gosh, I was missed today. And we can then dispatch a truck out to come get you. So that has been, for our folks who really like these services and like to conduct business outside of normal business hours, this has been a very nice and convenient tool. Lastly, I wanted to touch on Track My Truck. This is the latest, newest, and greatest with Republic Services. I've used it myself. I live in a city with organized hauling, and I'm able to know if, gosh, has my trash truck come yet? Oh, well, it's 25% of the way there. But my recycling was there. And it's just convenient if you're out of town and you have somebody else that's going to be bringing your carts up for you while you're out. And you know when it is, or if you need to tap on Junior and go, don't forget after football practice, bring those carts up, they're empty. So very convenient. But then also there are times where, gosh, my stuff is still in my cart. What happened? If you go on the app or go on that online program, you can see that, okay, I wasn't serviced. My cart wasn't out soon enough. I brought it out a little too late. At that point, the customer can then report a miss or get in touch with us on the app or call if they choose. Also with White Bear Lake, we do have a customized inbox for you, so residents can email us if need be, and our local staff gets those emails and responds to them quite quickly. So a number of options for people to reach us. And of course, city staff handles a lot of different calls as well, and they do a great job. I've had the privilege of working with Missy for a number of years, and she's great. So those are my updates. If you have any questions, let me know. If you ask me a lot about EPR, I will tell you. We'll learn together.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yes.
Councilmember Gurula.
Yeah, I was wondering about the Indianapolis Polymer Center. So if ours go, do we send any there then? If ours goes to Eureka, or do they take not 1, 2, and 5?
We deliver all of your material to Eureka, and they process it.
Okay, so the Polymer Center, ours doesn't.
No, and that's why, yes, and that's why I was hoping that I prefaced that correctly.
Yeah, no, I was clarifying.
Yes, we have a few cities that do contract out their own processing, and we have a number of cities where we provide both services. Where we provide both services, that material is taken to our Polymer Center.
Is the Polymer Center able to do plastics other than 1, 2, and 5s?
They're 1, 2, and 5s.
Okay. Yes, Eureka.
Yes.
And then I had one more question, and that was, how do your trucks have anything to monitor contamination rates? I know some haulers have like cameras and other things, or do you run into that often? Or if you're aware of any, like White Bears, how we do with our recycling contamination?
Your recycling contamination is very good. The residents do a nice job. How do you compare amongst other cities? I would say that you're in the top portion, not the bottom portion, so you've always done really quite well. A lot of that has to do with the education that is done by city staff. They do a really great job. I know I've seen a lot of work in the past that Connie's done, and it's been good. With contamination, like I said, technology is really evolving, so much so that all of our trucks have cameras inside the hopper, outside. In fact, when someone calls in a miss, we can look up on Samsara a camera to see, okay, what happened here? Did we have a new driver who didn't realize this was out here, or it's just kind of an odd stop or on a private road? What happened? And we can clearly see what happened, or oftentimes what we find is it was not out, the cart was not out. But then we can grab a picture of that, send it back to city staff, or volunteer, of course, to call the customer. I've talked to a number of your residents, and provide that picture with some very nice, gentle education.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great, thank you. I'm sorry, when did you say that the food waste pickup is going to
The
start?
food waste program
Yeah.
starts July 6th.
Okay, thank you.
So what that will entail is residents can sign up with the county. That's a county-run program. All of the haulers are involved with the collection of this. And in White Bear Lake, your residents will get bags when they sign up for the program. And, you know, they're certified bags, they're compostable, and they'll set those in their trash cart. So they're not going to need another cart, which is very convenient. So the food scraps will go in those bags, and then we take that to the processing center, and they pull it out, the county. They've got it down. They've been doing it for quite some time.
So you just put it in your regular trash?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
In that
awesome.
special bag.
And people have to sign up, they'll sign up for that? If they
Yes.
want it. Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, with the county.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, thank you so much. Thanks
Thank
for coming
you.
in. Really informative. All right, so, council, any discussion? Councilmember Egbert.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Juba, So we're exercising an extension opportunity. Do we have that same extension opportunity after the end of this contract, or what's next that should be on our radar?
Thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Edberg. It's my understanding, and the city attorney can correct me, but it's my understanding that we would have the opportunity to extend also at that time. Prior to this last contract with Republic, I don't think that we had gone out for proposals in nearly 20 years, mid-90s to 2014. And the reason that we did that at that time was dissatisfaction with the service.
Mm-hmm. So I personally have been satisfied with, as a homeowner, user of the service, I've been satisfied with that. Do you find that our citizens are equally respectful of Republic? So for example, I appreciate that they will come out and pick up when they are at fault, but it's kind of like not fair. Sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. For those that don't get their stuff out to the curb on time, what's the consequence, and do we have a substantial amount of that?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Edberg. I don't think it's one of the reasons that I put in there the number of accounts we service a week was 7,500. And we do have issues. We have issues that pop up, and I think that we would, no matter who our hauler or service provider is at that magnitude. A lot of the technology that Ms. Mathieson pointed out helps, I think, with response to that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I feel like the issues that come up, the real issues that come up on a weekly basis are rather minuscule in the grand scheme of things. And their local staff is very good about responding when we get a hold of them. So if somebody calls our utility billing clerk and is very frustrated and she can't resolve that, a lot of those times those escalate to me. And I'm very confident, and have been in my history here with Republic, saying no matter what, it'll be taken care of in 24 hours. So if it's 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon, leave your card out, they'll be there in the morning, if not yet today. And I have very few cases that has not come to fruition.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the resolution renewing the contract with Republic Services for 5 years for the residential refuse and recycling collection.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the resolution passes. Thank you. All right, item 8B, recycling process contract. Mr. Juba.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So a very similar story here. City contracts with Eureka Recycling to process our recycling, and we've done so since 2006. Eureka is a local nonprofit organization that relies on local markets to ensure that materials are handled responsibly. The strategy has been helpful in recent years when global markets or overseas markets have closed. The city's contract with Eureka includes revenue sharing, so when recycle markets are good and our processing costs can be paid for by the sale of those goods, and then the city receives revenues also. That's not always the case and hasn't been the case recently, but that does rebound and go back and forth. And so sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, just like any other market, I suppose. But right now, we have been paying for recycling processing. But nonetheless, the city staff and Eureka have negotiated a 5-year contract extension with the same exact terms that we had on the former contract, which is a 2% annual increase or CPI, whichever is greater. And again, that's been in place for quite some time. So we are recommending approval of this contract with Eureka Recycling, but like the last time around, we have Miriam Holzinger here from Eureka to give an update and answer any questions you have on our recycling processing.
Holzinger.
Hi, thank you for having me. Okay, I am Miriam Holzinger. I'm the co-president at Eureka. Really excited to talk to you about our organization today. As Mr. Juba said, we are a nonprofit, mission-based, Minnesota-based organization. So that means that all of our decisions are really driven by what is best for our community. That said, we are about 99% fee for service. So we really aim for our operations to be self-sustaining. So we're different than other nonprofits in that we're not sustaining our operations by grant funding or anything like that. Instead, they're self-sustaining, but we use the information gathered from our operations to advocate for a better system for everyone. A little bit about our operations. We process around 100,000 tons per year, and our residual rate is about 10%, which is really low. It's about what White Bear Lake's residual rate is too, which is definitely the lowest in the country. When I speak around in other states, they're very envious of Minnesota's excellent recycling programs and how good our residents are at putting the right thing in the bin. That said, there have been many studies lately that indicate there's probably a lot more recycling that could be put in the bin. So we're really excited to try to figure out, okay, how can we get more of the right stuff out of the trash and into the recycling cart? Our organization has over 100 employees. They're all paid living wages with benefits. It's really important for us not to use temp workers except for as a recruitment strategy, and to make sure we are really doing the safest best practices, because we know, that as we're reducing waste, we want to make sure we're not taking advantage of employees at the same time. Most recently, our MRF, that's where all your stuff comes and gets processed, sorted into over a dozen categories, was upgraded. We did about an $11 million upgrade last year, added a whole bunch of new equipment that just helps sort everything a little bit better. We did this because we've seen the composition change over the years as people are reading less newspapers, getting less magazines, and we're seeing more and more like smaller bottles and cans, like your single serving yogurt cups instead of the 32 ounce, or your soda cans instead of the 2 liter. So it just means that every once in a while you have to do a little bit of upgrade to make sure everything sorts processly. All of the recyclables are sorted into over a dozen categories that then we sell to what we call end markets, where they get turned into new products. As a mission-based organization, it's really important that these materials are going somewhere where they will get turned into something that is going to be its highest and best use. So similar to what the previous speaker said about their Indiana Center, we've been doing that for years around really making sure material gets turned back into bottles when it can. Additionally, the majority of our stuff stays in our region. So currently about 52% of materials we sort actually stays in Minnesota. So often people think recycling goes away, and it really doesn't. It actually stays here, nurtures the economy in our region. And then 95% of what we sort stays in the upper Midwest. So similar, we really try to keep things local as much as we can. That both helps our economy, but also reduces the environmental impact of shipping. And then 100% of our material stays in North America. So we very rarely ship anything overseas. Occasionally when markets are really bad, we have to, but we really try to limit that when possible. So Mr. Juba asked me to talk a little bit about recycling markets. Often I say they are like the index fund because it's over a dozen different categories. And so sometimes things are up, sometimes things are down, ideally not at the same time. As he mentioned, when everything is up, then the city gets a revenue share back, which we love it when that happens. Unfortunately, when everything's not up, we still have to cover the cost of wages and such at our facilities. So then we ask the city to cover the difference. So most cardboard stays really actually very close, either stays in Minnesota or goes to Wisconsin, where it gets turned back into cardboard boxes. A lot of our paper does as well. Those markets tend to follow the economy because when people are buying more things, we need cardboard boxes to put them in. Interestingly, when they decrease, a lot of times the decrease is only short term because when people are buying less, then there are less cardboard boxes to be turned into boxes. So even though people need less boxes, there's also less boxes to get turned back into boxes. And that's the beauty of a circle, right? Is that it can shrink or it can grow as needed, and it just keeps feeding itself. A lot of our plastics really go back into bottles, so that also helps with that circle. I will say recently, your water bottle and pop bottle markets have been struggling, and that doesn't have to do with where or what they're getting turned into, but rather import markets that have been undercutting the local market. So about 25% of water bottle and pop bottle markets have closed in the last year. This is something that we've been advocating and talking about. And the industry as a whole is trying to figure out how to solve this issue because it's affecting all of us, including Republic, including everyone. And that the solutions to that are both ensuring transparency, because not everybody is sure that the imported material is recycled content, and then also if there needs to be some other method to really protect our local markets. So that's just something that people are concerned about. Other plastics industries can be impacted by farmers because a lot of plastics does get turned back into drainage tile, or they can also get impacted by the housing market because it can get turned into carpet. And so even if we're not sending material to get turned into carpet, because it all works as a whole, that can impact the price that we get because it's an open market. Interestingly, aluminum often is impacted by energy pricing or even the price of the dollar because of that. How much is exported. So when the dollar is, I'm trying not to get this wrong, when the dollar is strong, that actually depresses aluminum pricing, oddly enough. So it's like, great, our economy is going well. Oh, but aluminum is down. So as you can see, like all of this stuff ebbs and flows. So it's really hard to predict where it will go in the long term. But that said, EPR will definitely impact it. Happy to answer questions on this. I am on the advisory board at the state on this subject. I am not speaking here in that capacity, just to be clear, but it is something that Eureka Recycling pays very close attention to because we know it has such a huge impact in our state. So this is a timeline. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It was really nice that the previous speaker talked a little bit about this. Some of the key things right now, the needs assessment is happening, and that is very important because that's setting the baseline for the costs and the capacity of recycling in our state. Soon there will be a collection list, so the state will move towards a unified collection list. This is something we've all actually been doing on our own quite a bit. Minnesota has the Recycling Education Committee, which we're a part of, which many members, both in city and counties, as well as processors around the state, have been getting together trying to synthesize this because we don't want recycling to be so confusing. My favorite headline was, people thought recycling was more confusing than doing their taxes. And so we're just like, okay, let's see if we can all get on the same page about what should go in the cart and like synthesize our education so it's a little bit easier. The really exciting thing though is in 2029, the reimbursements will start. So as the previous speaker mentioned, the city will start getting reimbursed for their recycling processing costs, if there are any, as well as collection costs, and additional education and outreach costs too. So if there's more drive to go out to residents to talk about what can go in the cart and make sure they're recycling right, that is another thing that will then be covered. And this program is getting covered by the people who are making the products. So that's where EPR has moved away from taxpayers paying for this to like, wait, all this stuff in our cart comes from someone. Those people who sold us that stuff should be responsible for getting it back to the right place. And so that will help them, incentivize them to both redesign it so it's a little bit easier for those of us trying to figure out what to do, as well as help make sure that it's easier for everybody to recycle as well. And that's why the cost will be covered. It's about 50% in 2029, and then it will gradually increase up to 90% in 2032. So there's a gradual rate increase. And then also she mentioned by 2032, the idea is everything sold in the state will need to be recyclable or compostable. I should say all packaging. This is a Product Packaging and Paper Act. So not like your electronics or anything like that. All of that is exempt. There's also a lot of other exempt things like baby food, medical supplies, you know, anything that we're like, no, health is very important. Let's put that first. So I'm happy to answer questions on this too if folks have. And then the other thing I wanted to end with is we're having our open house this Saturday. We were closed yesterday because of the holiday, and so we realized that because we have to run on Saturday to make up for being closed yesterday, it's a great day to invite people to our facility and see how recycling is actually sorted. So of course, if you can't make it and you want to come another time, don't hesitate to reach out. We love bringing people through our facility. It's just such an eye-opening experience to see all the people and the equipment and how everything gets sorted. But sometimes Saturdays are easier for folks, which is why we do this. We're doing about 10 tours between 8 and noon this Saturday. And that's everything.
Thank you. That's great for the community to know that they can call and come and tour it because, yeah, it'd be a fabulous opportunity. Does anybody have any questions? Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 3 or 4. So If you could wave your magic wand over the city of White Bear Lake and cause us to collectively do better to enhance outcomes, what are the things that you would ask the recycling genie to do for us? Or maybe it's the recycling fairy godmother. What would you have us do?
The easy answer is probably to definitely reduce some of the really hazardous contamination. Like things like black plastic are not a big deal, but tanglers like plastic bags and cords or scrap metal, those really slow down the system and cause problems. But I was listening to a speaker the other day who pointed out that if we just increase the amount in the cart and didn't increase the contamination, it would decrease by proportion. And I really like that idea. Minneapolis did a cart study, and they found that residents are throwing out about half their recycling, including aluminum cans, which really surprised me because Minneapolis also does a lot of education. They have a big cart on every household. So I was like, if they're not recycling more than half of their material, then what are the rest of us doing? And so I think that too, like really encouraging people. A lot of people don't think recycling works. I see billboards that break my heart because they're promoting reuse, but they're denigrating recycling at the same time. And it's like, no, don't trample over that. Like reuse is best. Don't get me wrong. If you can do that, 100%. But really like letting people know it works when you put it in the cart. And we can keep it simple. It's your bottles, cans, paper, cardboard, right? Put those in the cart. So I'd say the more that we can really encourage people to take advantage of that program and reduce their waste by recycling the right things.
Is any part of that, does that require new knowledge? Has the story changed? Have the items that are recyclable, is the industry changing in ways, or is it pretty much the same recycling rules, ideas that we've had for some time? We just need to be more consistent in doing that?
I think it's the same. Because of my job, I hear like people tell me things. And I found that the people who recycle often think that everybody recycles, and the people who don't recycle think that nobody recycles. Oh. And so like if we can just make that a little bit more commonplace. The other things I found is that many places overlook recycling. Like I get annoyed every time I go to a game and they have all these beautiful labeled bins, but they don't do any like education encouraging people how to use them correctly, especially when they have a compostable cup. And I'm like, most people don't know that this clear plastic looking thing is compostable. And so a lot of times people don't want to talk about recycling education. Same within the workplace. For 8 years, we ran a commercial composting program in the city of Minneapolis where we helped restaurants and small businesses implement composting as well as recycling and garbage in their business. And so we offered a training, and like so many of them were really excited to get that training. And we get all the basic questions that we answer on our tour as well, because it's just something that people don't talk about. It's not that exciting unless you're kind of geeky like me. So
Thank you. So you mentioned that we have a statistic of 10% residual. I'm assuming, my assumption was that means 10% of all the stuff you collect should not have gone into the bin. Is that a correct interpretation of that data?
Yep, that's pretty. There's a few things that maybe got broken too small in the truck compaction, or, there's a little bit of loss in the system, but yes, the vast majority of that is stuff that shouldn't have been put in the bin in the first place.
And you seem to indicate that 10% was good within the industry. Should it be better, or is it feasible that it gets much better, or how do we think about that?
I think it could be better. There's a city we've been collecting, because we do collection as well, and when we were collecting in the blue bins, residual was under 2%. And then when we moved to carts, which was really incredible because it allowed so many more people to participate in the program, that residual jumped up to like 6%. And then it's been creeping up every year since then. And we've seen that in a lot of the cities. It seems to have flattened out around 10 or 11% in our region. Part of that is because that is really hard to see on a truck level. We have cameras in our trucks as well, and they're really great for like someone puts a bag of trash, but that's not what that 10% is. That 10% is, it's like your little, someone cleans out their car maybe, and they throw everything in a shopping bag. It's that kind of stuff. Or other like small like toys and, you know, random plastic things that shouldn't be in the amount of bowling balls and tennis shoes that we see. Just things like that, that, you know, you think they're big, but if you think about the whole cart, you're like, oh, it's really hard to identify, you know, one random thing. I'll never forget one time I did a tour and a whole bunch of potatoes started coming down the line.
Food scraps.
Yeah,
Got it.
sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. So clearly, Republic is making some, and the rest of the industry is making some advances, at least along the polymer chemistry components. What does Eureka see? You guys have been locally grown, you have served this community, and you did this a whole lot longer, for a long time, long before any of the industry, I'll call them giants, got religion. What's your competitive advantage, or what do you see as the something extra that you bring that cause clients like us to say, this is Eureka, and these are the folks that are able to do this, that, or the other at a slightly better margin or a slightly better level of quality or whatever. And conversely, what's the greatest threat you're facing?
Wait, what's the greatest
Threat to your business,
threat
to your business model.
to our business? I mean, it is hard to stay competitive in the market. I think as a nonprofit, we're fortunate because we don't have to have the same profit margin. I mean, we still have to run it in the green, but we're not answering to shareholders. We're really answering to our community. So that allows us to both pay our staff really well, which enables us to have incredible longevity. The average turnover rate in our recycling facility is about 8 years, which is unheard of. Many other facilities say they're lucky if their staff last a year because it is very hard, dangerous work. Similarly, we do a lot of training for our staff so that if they have the capacity and interest, they're able to move up into supervisors and managers and such. And so I think that really helps us maintain a competitive advantage because our end markets know that our material is quality because we have this staff who've been with us for so long and they care. Additionally, it helps us price competitively because even though they may be paid a slightly higher wage because they've been with us so long and living wages are so important to us, we're not having that same turnover, the recruiting costs, the training costs. Same with our accident and injury costs. This year, we're celebrating because our injury rate is below average, which is a good thing, right? It's one of the few times when you want to be below average, which is not easy. The recycling processing is in the top 10 most dangerous jobs because there's just a lot of ways to hurt yourself in that facility, unfortunately. And so I think all of those really build together to allow us to offer that advantage. And then the cherry on top, which honestly, I don't think we win any contracts with this, but I like it, is that then we're using this information to advocate for a better system for everyone. So that's part of why it was really important to get me on the EPR board and to use the information we gather from our recycling facility. Like right now, we're really looking at how can we do electronics recycling a little bit better, because that's another huge threat to us as well as everyone else in our industry, is the threat of, we call them the F words, because our staff's a little superstitious, otherwise known as thermal events, just so your mind goes in the right direction, due to people putting, cell phones, electronics, batteries in the recycling carts. And so that's a huge concern for us. So we're trying to figure out, okay, how can we create policies and programs that make it easier for people to return those to the right place instead of putting them in their cart.
Any other threats you would want us to know about? And if not, that's fine. But
That's a really good question. I think I covered the big ones. I think the other one that we're really monitoring is just how does the extended producer responsibility, the EPR legislation, roll out. We're the 5th state to pass it, and we like to think we've learned from the other states, and so we have the best policy, but it is still, a little bit new, and we're kind of figuring out how that's going to look for everyone.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Miss Councilmember Garola.
You answered most of them, but just for clarification, I was going to ask you one about the county's initiative, right? Because they're funding, like, recycling's not a unicorn, not a myth, it works. But with the EPR now passing, you're saying that will go to the producers, and they'll be the ones pushing most of that
No.
information, or no?
Most likely not. They're not supposed to be doing the work, so they will be paying into the Producer Responsibility Organization, which is Circular Action Alliance. They've already been selected by the state. And then they are creating the allocation system that will go out to the people who do that. And this is where
But they're covering the costs?
Yep. So
Yeah,
the
that's
law is
what I
still
was
getting
trying to-
figured out.
Yes.
But the idea is that it will most likely still be cities and counties
Yep.
who are doing that education, but then it will get covered
Yes.
by
Yeah.
CAA.
Yes, that's what I was just...
Yeah, which is great, because that ad campaign that they did was mostly covered by a grant that they got, which I'm so glad they did. It's I really like it when I see it. It's such a cute ad. But it's like, yes, let's do more of that for sure.
Yeah, that's great. And then my other one was, you talked a little bit about the downstream markets, the impacts. Have you all struggled at all, like with the paper mill closing, right? I don't know if SMI Glass is still operating, or some of those. How has that been to try to find local? Where is it going now?
Yeah, so SMI is still operational. Knock on. Hope they're not going anywhere anytime soon. It's okay. There's always a little bit of indigestion, I would say. Like when West Rock closed, prior to them closing, 75% of our material stayed in the state. Or no, it was 80%. So a lot. And then we've had to shift a lot of that material to Wisconsin. So it took us about a month or two. Excuse me. We always try to have multiple markets, though. Even when we have one that we really love, we do aim to have at least 3 when we have enough material quantity to support that, just because you never know when someone's going to close.
Yeah, that's great. And then my last question was just, I know you talked in a kind of place on what Councilmember Edberg was saying about people, about how some, I know there's some AI and robots you all use, but you've really found, I know what people from Eureka have told me, that the human minds are the most effective when it comes to this. And if you're still, even with AI advancements and things, it sounds like you still kind of hold true to that. But I was curious if, since a couple years ago when that was true, if that's changed at all, or is there pretty much just...
Yeah. I actually have studied AI in the recycling system extensively. So we're now working with our third company on a pilot to test it. I have to say it never works as well as they say it does. Unfortunately, we did have robots on our lines helping do quality control on our paper. With this most recent upgrade, we found they were redundant because the optical sorters we installed are just doing a much, much better job. So we actually just uninstalled them. They're at the end of their lease anyway. And we did, in working with them, we did find that there were a lot of issues with the it's minds and hands. Like, hands are incredible technology. And so I wouldn't say that AI and robots are never the solution, but we're still figuring out what that solution is. And that's where we do get grants to study that kind of thing, which I personally love doing. So like right now we're using it to do a water bottle capture rate study where we have a separate audit line where we have AI on it, and then we're testing that against human counts. And like I said, this is the third study we've done with AI units. So yes, we will continue researching and evaluating that, absolutely.
Excellent, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Helsinger.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Juba? No? Any further discussion? Okay, I'd consider a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing a 5-year contract extension with Eureka Recycling for recycling purposes, processing.
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the resolution passes. Thank you. All right, item 8C, first reading of an ordinance amending the zoning code regarding the zoning designation at 1900 Weber Street and planned unit development amendment. Mr. Lindahl.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. As you mentioned, the item before you is a request from Serenity Senior Care at 1900 Weber Street to amend their existing plan unit development or PUD approval. The amendment is necessary to allow them to expand their parking lot. This item should seem fairly familiar to the council because just at your last meeting, you received a briefing on their concept plan proposal. And now the applicant is coming through with their actual entitlement application. So in this case, what's before the council tonight is the first reading of the rezoning ordinance. And then the second reading of that rezoning ordinance and action on the plan unit development is scheduled for your next meeting on June 9th. So again, just some quick reminders about background on this issue. The site was originally developed in 1956 with expansions over the years. In 2012, the site received a PUD to repurpose and renovate the site to add transitional care and assisted living. Part of that improvement included 31 stall off-site parking lot just to the east of the site, and 26 angled parking stalls in the Florence Street right-of-way south of the site. Serenity purchased 2 adjacent properties along the north and west side of the site for where this parking lot expansion is proposed. In 2024, they demolished those houses and combined those lots into their property. And again, the PUD amendment here is required to allow that parking lot expansion that they're proposing. Just as a reminder, the purpose of a PUD is to really allow flexibility in some development standards in exchange for a higher quality development. And so back in 2012, that PUD based that, the exchange or the flexibility in the standards based on that the Serenity facility served a critical need for an aging population. And again, tonight, the first reading is necessary of the rezoning ordinance because of the way the new code structures plan unit development approval. So we actually are rezoning the site to specifically to that plan unit development designation, and so that's why our rezoning is ordinance is before us tonight. So just a quick couple of talking points of overviewing the site. The comprehensive future land use map and the comprehensive plan guides the site as public, semi-public. The zoning map guides it as R3 traditional residential. Institutional uses are allowed under those two zoning or those two designations. And the civic building type provides the details of the development standards, including the surface parking lot. The PUD overlay permits that senior care campus facility. The Planning Commission reviewed this item at their last meeting, held the public hearing, and recommended approval without any comments from during the public hearing. So again, staff and the Planning Commission are recommending approval, but again, tonight is just the first reading to review that ordinance and provide feedback on the application. As I mentioned, the applicant recently went through the concept plan approval process. So back in April, they held a neighborhood meeting. They had 4 attendees to that meeting. It also, then the concept plan moved on to the Planning Commission meeting in April and also was before the City Council. Residents during the that concept plan review process raised issues about on-street parking, lighting, maintenance issues, and the construction timeline and practice was really probably the most concerning for some of the residents that were in attendance. There were really no significant concerns about the parking lot design itself. So just to give you an overview of the site and that parking lot design that we've been talking about here, again, it reconfigures the existing parking lot to expand it to the west and to where those former residential properties were, and does a net gain of adding 35 stalls to the site. 3 new parking lot islands will be installed in there, and you can see those in yellow outline on this slide. Again, the PUD approval allows for some minor deviations from the zoning standards. And again, that is the 0-foot setback along the North or Weber Street property line. So that allows the parking lot design to continue at the same basic extension east and west, as you can see on this slide. Second standard, excuse me, that the applicant is getting a deviation from is the code requirement that there's a landscape island in the parking lot, 1 for every 10 stalls. In the southern portion of this design, we'll see a detail of this in a minute. The applicant has 13 stalls without an island rather than 10, and that really it has more to do with the general design of the southern edge of the parking lot, and we can talk about that again here in a second. And then the islands themselves, the 3 islands that are mentioned in there that are designed into the new parking lot, the minimum requirement in the zoning ordinance is 8 feet wide. In one case, the one furthest to the west, you can see here, is slightly longer and slightly narrower. Again, doesn't meet that 8-foot requirement. So zooming in on the portion of the parking lot where it's going to be expanded, this is actually the landscaping plan that the applicant has submitted. So staff has taken from one of their other plans that they submitted and indicated locations where trees that are existing on the site are going to need to be removed as a result of the parking lot expansion. There was some questions in the past about whether or not those could be incorporated into the existing parking lot islands or design. And you can just see on the general locations here, it's just difficult to do that based on where they're located in the parking lot and how the parking lot is designed. The applicant is proposing to preserve some trees on the south edge of the parking lot, between the south edge of the parking lot and the building. And so that's noted on the southern edge of the landscaping plan. And then you can see the assortment of landscaping that's proposed to be installed on the perimeter of the parking lot and in the parking lot islands as they're proposed here. So with that, staff is available for questions, but recommending that the council conduct the first reading of the rezoning ordinance. And then the second reading is scheduled for June 9th. And for the second reading, staff intends to bring forward resolutions approving both the PUD amendment and the rezoning ordinance that you're holding the first reading on tonight. And so with that, I'd stand for questions.
All right, does anyone have any questions? Councilmember Edberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we're addressing the zoning issue tonight, and that's related to the PUD, but are questions and conversations about tree preservation or are those relevant to this conversation, or is that conversation most appropriately held at the next meeting when we're dealing with both issues? What's fair game in this specific action that we're being asked to take tonight?
Mayor, members of the council, I would say that any feedback you would like to provide the applicant at this point on the application could help them prepare the final response to you during the second reading. So I would say anything tonight you'd like to ask them is fair game, as you put it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Could you tell me, are the trees that are going to be preserved, is that a change to the original? So they're kind of trading?
Mayor, members of the council, no, those were intended to be, originally intended to be preserved as part of the process. It just was, in the concept plan application, we don't get into that level of detail.
Okay. Any other questions? Councilmember Gorilla.
Yeah, when I went through, I know last time there was some discussion saying, oh, well, the trees, they're healthy or that, or maybe not. But I drove by today, not an arborist, but one of them, like the one closest to the road, looks like a mature maple to me. And so I'm just wondering if we can get confirmation, because if in one public setting it was said, well, those trees might not make it anyways, but kind of if we're cutting down healthy mature trees, then we need to be on it. Then the developer needs to be honest that that's what's happening in our plan. So that's something I would just be curious to see. Again, not saying they need to be evaluated, but just if we're saying that they're not healthy in any way, we should publicly confirm that. And then my other kind of comment is, even if possibly looking at if it needs to be 32, or if preserving the ones closest to the right-of-way, like that maple, which I couldn't tell from the picture, but it looks like that in the second one, that it would be one taken down, because even if you're planting 10 young trees, it doesn't necessarily replace mature trees, especially like mature trees can withstand drought and disease and other things much easier often, that even if we're planting 10 in 30 years, those 10 might not make it all the way through. So those are just kind of my thoughts mainly, that I understand the ones in the back are preserved already, but even if there's a way to, preserve one of the 6, I'd be
Can we
curious.
go back to the picture so I can see what?
Yeah. The one I'm talking about is the one closest to. Is that the red star there?
Yeah, the red stars indicate the general location of those trees. So that the applicant did submit a plan that details this, provides more detail to this, but in the interest of trying to consolidate slides for the presentation tonight, staff just put a general location of the 6 that were intended to be removed. I think the applicant could speak in more detail about some of the council's questions regarding tree preservation.
Can we hear from him? Yeah, I know he's here. Comes to all our meetings. Hi, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Council and Mayor, I appreciate the time. Thank you for putting that slide up with the trees. And
Excuse me, could you state your name
I'm
and
sorry,
address?
Jim Johnson. I'm the Senior Project Manager with Pope Design Group. We're the architect for this project, not the civil engineer, the architect. So we did look at the tree preservation. We did have Ben Hartberg, who is our certified landscape architect. He was out there, he surveyed all the trees. I'm just going to read kind of his summary. He said, these trees are mostly in fair condition, with many having multiple trunks, some dead branches, and thinning canopies due to lack of maintenance, including nutrient supplements and crown pruning. So the trees were not in great shape. I mean, they're not bad. I would like to point out that there are 4 of them, if you can see in the slide, but there is a bio-infiltration basin that we're required to put in. There would be 4 trees that we have to excavate and would cut into the root system there. So that makes it, it's gonna be tough to save those trees, because that bio-infiltration pond's gotta be that size because of the volume of the water. The sanitary line going out is pretty shallow, so it's gotta be kind of big. We did look at some drawings there's 2 trees in the parking area. They would lose about 12 parking stalls if we did try to salvage those trees. So I can't speak for Serenity, but that's a fair amount of parking spaces lost. So we did address that, I think, so.
Councilmember Gurula.
Yeah, I just really appreciate you taking the time to do that. And again, it's important, I think, that we're honest and transparent, especially because in White Bear, we really do value our tree canopy. Right. So I appreciate the further information and then efforts to look at that.
Sure. There'll be some nice trees going in too, so.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Lindahl? Councilmember Ekberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Lindahl, the zero foot setback, how does that, is that a setback from the right-of-way? Is it a setback from the actual street? What's the, I'm just trying to get my head inside the spatial orientation of that. What does that setback apply, or what's that do?
So, Mayor, members of the council, setbacks for zoning purposes are always measured from the property line. So you could think about it as that line that divides the private property, the edge of the private property, from then the public right-of-way, which is the public right-of-way is the land that the road sits in, which is larger than the road surface that you see. So the sidewalk and other boulevard areas are included in that right-of-way land that the road sits in. So it's the parking lot will not be directly abutting the curb, for example,
Okay.
in this case. There is still some distance in there.
Okay, that's what I was curious. I was just trying to picture how far toward the curb but if it's only going to the property line, there's still going to be distance, sidewalk, some boulevard probably, and then the curb, et cetera.
And Mayor, members of the council, for anyone who might be listening or watching and trying to picture what this looks like, if they were out on site today and looked at where the current street surface is, where the current sidewalk is, where the current surface of the parking lot is, it will just extend to the west where the current line of the existing parking lot is.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Linda. All right, moving on, item 9, discussion, nothing scheduled. Item 10, communications from the city manager. Ms. Crawford.
Thank you. I don't have an update, but I have a slide for you, Mayor.
Oh. Yeah, we're having an upcoming community and coffee on June 6th from at 9:30 a.m. at Stellmacher Park. All are welcome. Just to meet the mayor, and if any council members would like to come as well, that'd be great. So it's just a way for us to highlight different parks around in each ward. I'm going to pick one park each month and highlight those parks and have people come on out, and just a way to communicate with people, get to know. So all are welcome. I have just a little shout out. I want to give a shout out to the Parks Commission who did planting trees at Podvin last week, and that was really fun. I think we planted 7 trees, so that was great. And also shout out to the VFW who did a great job yesterday for the Memorial Day Parade and the Memorial Day at Union Cemetery, and then also at the VFW laying a stone for Sergeant Amor. So it was a great service and a great showing from our community, and I know the family appreciated it greatly. So thanks to all those out in TV land who came to that. And that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything they would like to share that they did, or? Nope. All right, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? We are adjourned.